Today I'll be showing you how I made Sora's Kingdom Key from Kingdom Hearts. I'll need about 9 feet of 1x12 poplar wood. I'll also need some wood glue, sandpaper, wooden dowels, Bondo, primer, and various paints. The tools I'll be using are a Dremel, jigsaw, table saw, bandsaw, miter saw, and also a lathe. I'll be doing this in 4 parts: the pole, handle guard, teeth, and painting process. So let's get started. To make the pole for the Keyblade, I'll need to take a 42-inch long segment of the 1x12 poplar and rip it into 4 2.5-inch wide boards. Next, I'll apply wood glue to one side of 3 of the boards. Applying it to one side will keep excess glue from running all over the place. Then I'll use my plastic putty knife to spread out the glue over the wood. This will ensure for even coverage over the boards. Then I'll stack the boards and align them, clamp them down, and align them again. Next, I'll cut off the ends of the posts just enough to make it flat. This will help the chucks on the lathe have better grip. With the ends of the post centered and mounted onto the lathe, I can start turning this post into a pole. With the pole rounded, I can mark the ends of the pole at 2 inches diameter. This will be where I have to carve down to. Next, I use my roughing gouge to lightly turn the pole. Then I switch to sandpaper for fine tuning. With the pole rounded, it's time to start working on the details around the handle guard. I'll start by rolling the gouge in the middle of the rain guard until it's 1.5 inches thick. Then slope it out to the edge of the rain guard where it's 2 inches thick, or the thickness of the pole. Then I'll use sandpaper to fine tune it again. I'll switch between grits to polish it, and then sand it and polish it again. Next, I'll use the edge of the roughing gouge to put in the 2 grooves right above the rain guard. Then, I'll use sandpaper to widen and then polish the grooves. Now we'll use the roughing gouge to turn the handle down to 1.5 inches thick. Now I'll use my Sorby spiraling tool to put a spiral going in one direction on the handle. To make the diamond texture, I'll need to overlap with the spiral going in the opposite direction. Here's what it looks like after going in one direction with the spiral, and after overlapping with the other spiral. To make the handle guards for the key, I'll take a template that I made a while back to make 2 exact copies. I'll need 2 because the wood is 3/4 inch thick and the handle guard needs to be 1.5 inches. I'll cut it out with my jigsaw. To cut out the inside of the handle guards, I drilled a hole with the drill bit big enough for the jigsaw blade, and then cut it out with the jigsaw. After gluing the 2 layers together and applying some Bondo to the sides, I used my compact router with a flush trim bit over the template of the handle guard that I made. The next step is to make the raised rounded areas on the handle guard. I'll make this by cutting out pieces with my miter saw. Next, I glue the pieces together with my plastic putty knife and Type-On 3 wood glue. With the pieces dried, I turn on the lathe. Then I use my table saw to cut almost all the way through the cylinder. This way I don't lose the piece I'm cutting. And I do the same to the other parts. Here's how it looks while it's gluing onto the handlebar. A bit, an inch and a half in diameter, to drill a hole for the pole to fit through. I don't want to drill all the way through, because I don't want to splinter the wood. Instead, I'll use my Dremel to open up the hole. I don't want to take away too much on the edge, or I'll have to fill in a lot with Bondo. This would risk taking away the spiraling texture. I'll also go ahead and clean up some details, such as flushing the rounded raised areas on the handlebar. Next comes the grueling yet satisfying process of sanding the handlebar. I'll also go ahead and slightly round the edges of the handlebar, just for aesthetic purposes. I'll also apply Bondo just around the raised areas to fill in any gap, and then sand those as well. Now I'll use my Dremel to drill the recesses in the handlebar. I'll be using the routing attachment that comes with every Dremel. Next I'll work on the discs that go around the handlebar. One larger one that goes at the bottom of the handlebar to each side of the top. I'll turn them on my lathe to get a perfect roundness. I'll need to leave it a little bit thicker so that way the chucks don't pierce all the way through the disc. In the end, I'll just cut off the excess. I'll do some fine shaping with the roughing gouge, and then round it some more with sandpaper. Here's how the discs look after I'm done. Unfortunately, I'm missing some video of where I cut out the teeth on the bandsaw, so I'll go ahead and start from this point. I'll use my belt sander to bring the teeth to a taper from 1.5 inches on the inside to 1 inch thick on the outside. I'll switch between low and high grits to polish the teeth, although I'll still have to sand it later. Now it's time for the fine sanding of the teeth. I'll use some sandpaper wrapped around a sawzall blade to get to the hard to reach areas. I'll also slightly round the edges on the teeth as well. Next I need to attach the teeth to the pole. I'll drill 4 holes for wooden dowels spaced 2 inches apart. Then I'll transfer the lines onto the pole and drill 4 holes in them. The holes need to match up perfectly, or else the teeth won't fit. I made the pole 42 inches long in the beginning, if you remember. The pole actually needs to be 38.5 inches long. I left it a bit longer, just so when I turned it on the lathe, the chucks didn't mess up the ends. Now I'll put glue in the holes, in both the teeth and the pole, and put in the wooden dowels. I applied some Bondo to the gap between the teeth and the pole, and sanded that down with the jig I bought at Walmart that keeps the sandpaper flat and provides a hard edge. Here's how the key looks finished and completely unpainted. Now it's time to prime the Keyblade for the paint. I'll use some sandable primer. I apply the paint in short bursts so I don't overspray. That would lead to dripping. As you can see, after priming there is still quite a bit of few scratches and holes in the Keyblade. I'll go ahead and fill in those scratches and holes and sand it down. It's time for the first coat of paint. I'll be using silver metallic paint as a base, since the anodized paint I'll be using later needs a silver surface anyway. Using metallic paint also brings out scratches and dents in props. I'll be doing this process about 3 times, since I'll need to sand, fill in with Bondo, sand, and paint again. Eventually, I get a plastic-like surface. Here's how the surface looks after sanding and repainting 3 times. Now I cover up everything except for the handle and rain guard, and paint the handle guard black and the rain guard in anodized blue. Then I spray paint the handle guard with an anodized yellow.